Sadhguru Jagi Vasudev is a realized master, mystic, and yogi. He has shown the way for people to attain to their natural joy and to live life with experience from one's own inner nature. His presence is filled with grace and compassion. Sadhguru's scientific approach towards spirituality and work towards the upliftment of humanity have received accolades worldwide. The words that come from him in intensity and utmost clarity, from his deep understanding and wisdom, can change the very core of the being. Belonging to no particular tradition, Sadhguru incorporates what is most valid for the modern person from the spiritual sciences. His work, an outpouring of his blissfulness, finds expression in the form of a ceaseless offering to help all beings. Available to all who are willing, Sadhguru's life is an invitation to the divine through individual transformation. Welcome to the silent revolution of self-realization.
Today, in a very lopsided world, where there is a complete misunderstanding even about simple things as to how to eat. Every creature on the planet knows how to eat except the human beings. Every creature on the planet knows how to conduct their life except human beings. And we claim we are the most intelligent of the species. So, now this conference called WAS, I think some change needs to happen in terms of when you say spirituality and science, it looks like spirituality is not science. I would say it should be a conference of an academy of spiritual and physical sciences, then it'll become WASPs. It'll have more sting. It's very, very important to recognize, to understand and to perceive spiritual process as a science. As there is a science for external well-being, there is a science and technology for inner well-being. It is only because we as humanity, we as societies, we as individual human beings, we did not invest the necessary time, energies and resources towards the inner sciences, that humanity today is in an extreme state of comfort physically and in an extreme state of distress within. So if true well-being for humanity has to happen, it's very, very important that the spiritual sciences and the physical sciences are given equal importance in one's individual life and in the way nations and the world conducts itself. So, it's very important that we don't say spirituality and science. Spiritual and physical sciences is how it should go. Thank you very much.
Sadhguru Jagi Vasudev needs no instruction today. Maybe 3 years back he needed, because till then he decided not to come out of Isha Yoga Center. Once he decided he will go into the outside world, within a couple of years he has become a universally known, recognized, respected, admired spiritual scientist.
When we say creation, we are talking about creation as we know it. When I say we're talking about creation as we know it, the way we know it right now is only through the five senses. Generally, as people know creation is only through the five sense organs. In the very nature of things, sense organs always perceive everything only in comparison with something else. What you know in comparison is not perception, it is a distortion of reality. So what you perceive in comparison is useful for survival in a particular situation, but it is not sufficient to know creation the way it is. Today, the physical sciences, physics especially, is completely going off the rack, talking about things which doesn't seem like science, which seems so much like science fiction, not science anymore. They are talking about different dimensions of reality existing right here, which is not in your perception. This is something for ages we have been talking about, and the whole science of yoga is only about enhancing one's perception, because what you perceive is all you know. What you perceive is what you know, rest is just your imagination. Without enhancing one's perception, trying to know the ways of the creation will only lead to all kinds of contradictory theories and confusions. One big manifestation of this is today the two most dominant theories which are dominating and guiding, which are guiding principles behind almost every fundamental research that's going on in physics is the general relativity and the quantum mechanics. One is describing the ways of the cosmos, another is describing or defining the ways of the atomic and the subatomic. But what is really freaking the scientists out is that the general theory of relativity and the quantum theory can never agree with each other, they're diametrically opposite to each other. Or in other words, your perception or your conception is that the atomic is working against the cosmic, or the cosmic is working against the atomic, which is just absurd. Because they are not different, and what you call as the atomic is the building block for the cosmic. There is no way they can work against each other. But now the two theories we have, that's what they suggest. And scientists are aware today that this cannot be true. So we spend a lot of time propounding theories where it takes another 50 years, 100 years for us to disprove it. This has been the way it's been going. This science has been useful because this science you can convert it into technology and make it useful in so many different ways. It is only for the value of technology that science has become valuable. I want you to differentiate between science and technology. Technology is the application part of it. If you take away the application part of it, in terms of knowing, the way sciences approach knowing has been very rudimentary and very limited in so many different ways. If you look at the aspects of science, the way it is being explored, it is very relative and limited. Only because of technology that comes out of this science, it has become very relevant, not otherwise. Another reason why spirituality has become irrelevant in large number of people's lives is people who talked spirituality could not produce the necessary technology which will make a difference for people. They only talked about ultimate well-being, but such a thing never occurred to anybody. Because people could not make technology out of the spiritual sciences, the spiritual science became irrelevant. Because it is a subjective science and it needed a completely different kind of laboratory and a completely different kind of focus and perception, it became more and more irrelevant because people spoke of spirituality only as a philosophy. Today, people are talking about spirituality and philosophy as if they're the same. Spirituality is a science which is not concocted by you, but philosophy is something that you concoct, something that you make up in your mind. If we interview every one of you, each one of you have your own kind of philosophy. There is nobody who is not a philosopher on the planet, do you know this? There is nobody on the planet who is not a philosopher, everybody has his own philosophy. You ask anybody, they have their own philosophy. You meet a great philosopher, of course he has a very elaborate philosophy. You meet a petty criminal, he has his own philosophy. You talk to your servant maid and see, she has her own philosophy. Is it so? You just talk to the beggar on the street, actually he has his own philosophy. So philosophy is something that you concoct to create a certain psychological comfort and a feeling of knowing which is not true. Spirituality is not something that you concoct, it is something that you explore. If you want to explore these dimensions, the only and only way is to enhance your perception. Without having necessary methods to enhance your perception, if you approach it, definitely it looks like a dead end. Now, when you say spirituality, you're talking about something that you're unable to perceive through the five senses. You're talking about a dimension which is beyond the physical. And the five senses, the very way they are made, they can perceive only that which is physical. Anything that is not physical, you cannot see it, you cannot smell it, you cannot taste it, you cannot hear it, nor can you touch it. So if your perception is limited to five senses, naturally, the play of your life and the scope of your life will be only physical. But I talk to God every day, that is also physical. Because God is just an idea for most people, it's not a living reality. No, I feel it in my heart. What you feel in your heart is your emotion, which is also made up by you. The psychological and the emotional states, whatever you go through, can be made up by you right now, isn't it so? Right now you can close your eyes and generate deep sense of love towards somebody. Right now you can close your eyes or maybe open your eyes and look at somebody here and generate a deep sense of hatred towards somebody. You can create whatever you want in your mind, and the way you think is the way you feel. So what is happening in the psychological sphere of your life has nothing to do with the spiritual. Today, unfortunately, the psychological solace is being interpreted as spiritual. To be psychologically in a pleasant state is one of the side effects of spirituality, but it is not spirituality. If you are in a certain inner state, to have a pleasant state of mind is very natural, but to have a pleasant state of mind is not spiritual. If you go and watch the sunset in the evening, maybe you will feel wonderful within yourself. If you eat an ice cream, you may feel wonderful. It doesn't matter, you go and watch a cinema, you may feel wonderful. Is this spiritual? No. You are just creating a pleasant psychological state. Psychological status, whether it is coming out in the form of thought or emotion, is fundamentally all yours. you can make anything out of it. What you call as the physical is not all yours. There are many forces playing upon it. What you call as the spiritual is not at all yours. It is you, but it is not yours. But what you call as the psychological is all yours, you can make it whichever way you want. But right now, because people have no even control over their psychological, that has become the biggest problem. When you say spirituality, immediately people will add a rejoinder, peace of mind. Peace of mind is not spirituality. Please just… if you have a pet at home, let's say if you have a dog at home, just go home and see, he sits there quite peacefully. Doesn't he? Do you see the bulls that are standing in Delhi streets? They're standing quite peacefully, aren't they? Stomach is full, they're all peaceful. This is not spirituality. This is just psychological pleasantness which everybody has to have, must have, for which there are ways to have. But when you talk about spirituality as a science, you're not talking about just psychological pleasantness. So what is a spiritual process? To give it a very technical kind of definition, if your experience of life transcends the limitations of the physical, then we can say you're spiritual. Psychological is still physical. When I say still physical, see, for example, the microphone is physical. The electricity that is powering this is also physical, maybe not so, so physical in terms of being able to see, but it is also… what is flowing through this wire is also physical, isn't it? And what is coming out of the speakers in the form of sound waves is also physical, isn't it so? Yes? Isn't it coming and hammering on your eardrums? So, what you call as thought is physical, what you call as emotion is physical. So the psychological is also… belongs to the physical realm, but on a subtler space. So what we are looking at as spiritual is a dimension which is beyond the physical, which is the source of the physical. Now, the whole idea of creator has entered human mind only because of our contact with the creation. There was no creation, we wouldn't have thought of a creator, obviously. What is the most intimate part of creation that we know in our life is always this one. See, anything that you experience through the five senses is not happening outside, it's always happening inside because the seat of your experience is within you, not outside of you. Right now you're looking at me, it makes you believe that I am here, but that's not true. Right now, as far as your experience is concerned, these lights are falling upon my body, reflecting, going into your lenses here and projecting an inverted image, you know all the story. So actually you're seeing me not here, but in your mind. You're hearing me also in your mind, not here, isn't it? Not where I speak, but where you perceive it within you. Every experience is within you because the seat of your experience is within you. So this level of perception is sufficient for survival. If survival is all we are seeking, this level of perception is sufficient. If you have started seeking the creator, then this level of perception is not enough. If you want to play in the creation, five senses are more than enough, you can live well. But now your life is not about living well, you want to know the very source of life. Now five senses are not sufficient perception, you need a different dimension of perception. Now this is the most intimate part of creation for you, because this is all you experience. Everything that you experience is only within this. If we have to look at it in terms of how this one has been happening to you, From the day you were born to this day, when you were born, you were only this much, now you become this much. This did not happen with any external help. Maybe we gave the raw material from outside in the form of food, but the whole creation process is happening from inside. So what you refer to as the creator, definitely functioning from within you, isn't it? You see? There's a gender problem, but this is a language problem, I'm sorry. If I say, is the creator within you, is he there? There's a problem with the ladies. Is she there? Then there's problem. Is it there? That is also a problem. This is because the language is logical and language exists only between the two dualities. Now with this, you can't play spirituality because that which you call as spiritual is beyond that comparison. Because your sense organs always perceive everything in comparison, everything is dual. And without this duality, there is no survival. Survival is possible only if you learn to do and juggle the duality well. Only if you learn to do the right kind of circus with the duality, you survive well. If you do not know this circus, you cannot survive in this planet. But when you talk about that which is the source of creation, you're not talking about two, you're talking about one. So the gender becomes irrelevant, all your understanding of… logical understanding of life becomes irrelevant, and your perception through the senses becomes irrelevant. Now, if this is the way, then we should not try to think what it is, because if you try to think what it is, whatever we think only comes from what we already know. All our thought is functioning from the data that has already been fed into it. One cannot perceive the nature of the creator by thinking about it. If you think about it, you will hallucinate after some time. It can create psychological well-being. For most people, largely, God has been taught to them. Depending upon what kind of community, what kind of society, which part of the world, accordingly different types of gods have been taught to them. They believe it. So because they believe it, they think about it naturally, and it can become a very strong thought process which gives them certain sense of stability, comfort, confidence above all, but no clarity. Confidence without clarity can be disastrous. You can't see clearly, but you're very confident. Could it be disastrous? Yes. Do you see, your vision is not clear, but you're very confident driver. Is it going to be disastrous? Because what you need is not confidence, what you need is clarity. If you see things clearly, if you see everything the way it is, then you walk through the world effortlessly. You can do things with confidence also. Now, you want to cross a busy street, whatever is your sect or religion. Anyway, everybody has their own mantra. You say Hail Mary and run, or you say Jai Shri Ram and run, or you say Allahu Akbar and run. Busy traffic is going on at high speed, you just run across, shouting your mantra. You may make it. Yes, you may make it. Many times people make it, because quantum physics is also going about saying everything is happening by chance in the existence. But if you try it a few times, then we will have to scrape you off the highway. If you see things clearly, then you cross the street, no confidence is needed, you simply cross the street. If you see everything clearly the way it is. So the same thing, if you want to cross the street from the physical to the spiritual, what is needed is not belief. What is needed is not confidence. What is needed is not imagination. What is needed is clarity. How to bring about this clarity is the only question. Instead of striving for clarity, people are always striving for confidence. God is holding my hand, you feel confident. It makes you very confident. And this confidence has destroyed the world in so many ways. So many ways. If you do something stupid today in your life, tonight your intelligence will bother you, why did I do this? But if you believe in something 100% and you believe you're doing God's work or whatever, then you are utter confidence. Whatever nonsense you do, you have no regret at all. You can go on doing it with total confidence because God is endorsing your stupidity. So where is the need to hesitate about anything? No hesitation. But if you do something stupid by yourself, it definitely bothers you, isn't it? And that's the function of the intellect, that it has to bother you. If you do something foolish, your intelligence has to poke you and bother you every day, then only it evolves, isn't it? What started as a spiritual process is one time slowly became organized into a certain form and has created so much nuisance and division. Humanity is divided almost permanently, you know. It's… when you look at it, when are we going to put it together, it looks like a faraway reality. It's all right to dream, it's all right to have a vision, it's all right to work for it, but when you really look at the world's human reality today, when are we going to put all the world together is a big question, isn't it? Because they're so deeply divided. Any other division, you are this party, that party, you know, people can change parties very easily. But once you believe something as God's own stuff, changing is very difficult because it is heaven endorsed, very, very difficult. And this is the biggest impediment for spiritual process to happen. If spiritual process has to become a common reality for everybody, it's extremely important that it is presented as a science, as a scientific method. See, today your intellect is made this way. Only if I speak something logical, you will listen. If I speak something illogical, you're unwilling to listen, isn't it so? Yes. That means only the ways of the modern science is acceptable to you. Anything other than that is not acceptable to you. So it's extremely important that spiritual process also is clothed in the same logical clothing because intellect is a large part of you. If I met you 2000 or 10,000 years ago, your intellect was not the most dominant part in you, your emotion was the most dominant part in you. Is it so? If I happen to meet you 10,000 years ago or even 1,000 years ago, your emotion would have been the dominant factor, not your intellect. But today, things have changed and your intellect is the dominant factor in you. Once your intellect is dominant, anything illogical it cannot come to terms with. No way it'll come to terms with. At the same time, the greatest intellects on the planet who have become great scientists, now they are taking you to an absolutely illogical spot. Absolutely illogical spot. What is coming out as a combination of this general theory of relativity and quantum theory, and which is… people are trying to propound it as a string theory, is pure science fiction, or it is like… I don't know if you watch those old movies, what are those, Maya Jal and… what are those? What is that N.T. Ramarao movies were coming where people will appear here, disappear there, come here, go there, you know, the same man is in 10 different forms he takes on, all these things. Scientists are beginning to talk like these movies now because they don't have perception for this, but their mathematical calculations is giving them a feeler of what is to be expected. So spiritual process is a way of exploring the interiority, exploring that dimension which is the source of the physical. There is a whole science and technology for this. The reason why it has become ridiculous in many ways is, one thing is because we did not, or over a period of time, the necessary institutions did not survive. The necessary investment in terms of time, money, intellect, resources, people did not happen in that direction. So all kinds of people, anybody who reads the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita becomes spiritual today. Yes, because it's very easy. Now you can talk things that nobody can… a kind of logic which is unbeatable, you know a kind of logic which is totally unbeatable, but nothing spiritual about you learning a book. Maybe the person who spoke the book is talking about something else, but you reading the book and knowing it logically, there is nothing spiritual about it. If you intellectually incline yourself, you're paving the way, that's all. The road is not the destination, isn't it? You read the Gita, you got inspired by Krishna's words. Now, maybe you're inclined, but you're not spiritual. I want you to understand the distinction. Spirituality means a dimension beyond the physical has become a living reality for you. For you, the creator is not somebody who is sitting up there. Creator is not somebody that you look up to. Creator is not somebody that you pray to. Creator is not somebody that you dream of or imagine. It is a living reality, like your breath and your body. The source of creation also functions within you every moment of your life. If this happens, then we say you're spiritual, otherwise we say you're on the path. Now you want to go to a dimension which is beyond the physical, through a physical means, it is not going to happen. You need a perception which is beyond the physical, only then you approach the dimension which you refer to as spiritual. The reason why this has not happened the way it should have happened, especially in this country, which has such a large body of spiritual work behind it. When Mark Twain, you know Mark Twain? When Mark Twain visited India for over 3 months, he had a good guide who took him around to the right places. And when he was leaving, he said, anything that can ever be done, either by man or God, has been done in this land. This is probably one of the best compliments India has ever received. And it is so. You might have lived in India without knowing the real heartbeat of India, because in every possible way that you can explore the inner dimension, it's been done. Nowhere else on the planet has ever such a thing has happened. The volume of spiritual work that has happened in this land. In spite of that, why is it not alive in a real sense, being alive in everybody's life? Is simply because we did not, or those institutions which transmitted this kind of knowledge did not withstand the rigors of time and history, and it crumbled. And later on, for whatever reasons, we did not invest the necessary investment to make these things happen. Especially today, because people are talking in terms of, everything is fast food and fast whatever. Without investing the necessary time or effort, people want to do things. Because of this, spiritual sciences are becoming more and more ridiculous. On the street side, without any commitment, people want to do spirituality. Because of this, because it became a commercial force by itself, because it became a product that could be sold and bought, it became loose. Because a subjective dimension cannot be approached without the necessary focus. In the sense, see, for example, can somebody tell me what's the greatest movie that you ever saw in your life? A cinema. Okay. Okay. Do aankhe bara hath, whatever. So it had why you are saying it's the greatest movie is, it had a big impact on you. So you went into a cinema theater, you sat in that dark house, breathing everybody else's exhalation, breathing in everybody's exhalation, sat there glued to the screen. Instead of this kind of arrangement, instead of this kind of very focused arrangement where everything else was cut off, dark room means everything else is cut off. Your whole attention is right there on the screen. Instead of this, let us say you're driving on the street, every advertisement hoarding that you see turns into your video screen and everywhere it's playing. You are driving, once in a way you watch Do Anke or Barahat and you saw the movie like this. Would it have the same impact on you? Even a simple cinema needs a focused approach, otherwise you will miss the whole point, isn't it so? It's just two-dimensional. Cinema is just two-dimensional and that needs total attention, otherwise you'll miss the whole import of what it is. When this is so, when you talk about spiritual, out of which every dimension in the existence has come out of, you need absolute focus. And right now the necessary dedication to create this focus and dedication is what is missing. Because of this, spiritual sciences are becoming a ridiculous process where scientists are just dismissing it as nonsense. But slowly it is getting its foothold here and there. Somebody was mentioning three different fora. One is the World Economic Forum. For the first time, such a thing was unthinkable just 2-3 years ago. For the first time this year, they have a session called Spirituality and Science. This was just unheard of. World Economic Forum is supposed to be totally of a different scale and no question of spirituality there, but for the first time science and spirituality segment has come up there also. Because scientists are they're facing a wall, they're not able to look beyond that. They need some help somehow, how to go beyond this. Because the physical stops at a certain point, how to explore beyond that? Because if you do not explore that, everything that you have explored in the physical seems all contradictory and mixed up. Now, exploring spirituality, what it means. See, if you just move your hand like this, you can feel the air, which normally you did not feel, isn't it? Right now you're sitting here, this place there is air, but you can't feel it. Though you're breathing it, you still can't feel it, but if you just move it, you can feel it. Suddenly little movement that you created with your hand, you are able to feel something that you could not. You are perceiving something that you normally do not. So similarly, that which is the source of this creation, if you want to feel it, you have to create a little moment inside. Without that little moment, you will not feel it. You have to create a certain dimension of intensity inside. All yogic sadhana is only towards this. Yoga is not about giving you therapy. It is not about your backache or headache or asthma or whatever. Health benefits that come out of yoga are purely side effects of yoga. Yoga is not a therapy, it's a discipline. If you take this as a discipline, therapeutic values are there. Therapy will happen, but you never do yoga as a therapy, it is done as a discipline. Because using it as a therapy is like… Can I tell you a story? I seek your permission because the moment I say once upon a time, many people here, the light is right, you will think it is bedtime. Let us say you have never seen an aircraft in your life. You do not know the very concept of flight. And one day, today morning you came out of your house, there's a huge airplane parked in front of your house. What is the first thing? Any unknown object means fear, suspicion. Which is how, which is how everybody approaches me. First fear, then suspicion. I have to work through all that before they see what it is. An airplane also faces the same thing because it's a new dimension. First fear, then suspicion, but then the braver lot of you go and by chance you opened the door and went inside. There you saw rows and rows of seats. So immediately your mind says, oh, this is a bus. The best bus we have ever seen, really wonderful. And then one of you got the engine roaring, now you want to drive it. But these two ugly things, they're going to hit your buildings, lampposts and everything, you don't like it. So you thought this is a wonderful bus but these two ugly appendages, so you decided to do a surgery and you chopped off these two wings and started driving this bus. You're very happy. You got a great bus, you're really happy. But somebody who knows what it means to fly, if he sees you driving an aircraft with chopped off wings, he will cry. So, that which can be a ladder to the divine, if you use it just to cure your backache, I'll feel like crying. But I am not belittling your backache. When you have backache, that is the biggest thing. Who cares about the divine when you have a backache? Even if God appears, you will only ask, backache should go, isn't it? Isn't it so? Body has that kind of power over you. Once your body is in pain or in some kind of distress, who is interested in God, heaven, enlightenment nonsense? The only thing that matters is, right now this problem should go because body has such a power over you. Once it begins to hurt, once it begins to cause some suffering to you, it dominates everything. So, spiritual sciences being used as therapy, no. Spiritual sciences should be propagated as a discipline. Therapy will happen. If you are well tuned within yourself, everything will function well in the system. That is a natural happening. But using parts of spirituality as a way to cure yourself of something or this or that, you will only complicate your life in so many different ways because this broken up spirituality, this spirituality which people want to do in segments and just for a particular benefit, could complicate life in so many different ways. I will not go into that aspect, but now we are talking about an academy for spiritual sciences. It's extremely important that it is propagated in its holistic and subjective way, without the necessary subjectivity. Just the physicality of yoga as it's generally happening in the West is like a stillbirth. It's better not to get pregnant than to have stillbirth, isn't it? If health is all that people are seeking, I would say instead of doing yoga, just go play tennis, climb a mountain, take a walk, swim, it'll do better. I'm not saying yoga will not give you health, definitely it will. But I'm saying this is a ladder to the divine. It is a way of climbing up to the highest possibility within yourself. It is a way of approaching the Creator through the creation. Thank you very much.
Sir, you have mentioned that yoga accentuates your perceptions and through yoga you reach the Creator. That means those who do not learn or practice yoga cannot reach the Creator? Is that so?
No, because there is nobody who is not practicing yoga. Everybody is practicing yoga haphazardly. When we use the word yoga, we are not talking about a particular practice. There is nothing in the existence which is not yoga. The word yoga means everything has become one. The word yoga means union. So it's a grand unification of the existence. When we say yoga, we are talking about a level of perception where you have seen everything as one. So, you're sitting here, this is a kind of yoga. Just being able to sit in one place is a kind of yoga, and that's what most of the yogis did, isn't it? Just sit in one place. You're breathing, this is another kind of yoga. But are you doing yoga systematically or are you doing it haphazardly? That's the only question. But you're doing some yoga, isn't it? Your heart is beating, it is a kind of yoga. But is it happening in the best possible way? That's the only question, isn't it? So, If I do not do yoga, does it mean to say, I have no possibility? No. Because yoga does not mean twisting your body or tying yourself up into knots or holding your breath or something like this. See, what you call as myself right now is only four fundamental realities: your body, your mind, your emotion, and the energies which make these things happen. So for these four fundamental aspects, we have four basic yogas. This is known as Gnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga and Kriya Yoga. Gnana means yoga of intelligence, Bhakti means yoga of emotion or devotion, Karma means yoga of action, Kriya means yoga of transforming your energies. Is there anybody here who is not doing these yogas? All of you are doing it. To what extent is the only question, isn't it? So, now we are talking about approaching these four activities which you are anyway performing with better understanding in a more systematic way so that it yields the necessary result. So can there be realization without yoga? No, isn't it?
Sadhguru, namaskar to you. I am Colonel Sharma from Indian Army. I have one question to you. Supposing a hypothetical question, like supposing Krishna, who is supposed to be Yogi Raj, or Mahayogi Shiva, all our gods are supposed to be great yogis. Supposing you climb your ladder of yoga so much, evolve so much, your consciousness evolves so much, is it possible that you become creator yourself? Like gods, they have become. You create your own creation. It's possible to reach that state?
Now, I'm looking how to make it logical for you, because if it's not logical, you will not like it. See, you have heard of many yogis who just withdrew into a cave, and for years and years, they did not even step out. They did not even have the need to open their eyes and look at the sunrise or sunset. Yes? You yourself are a human being, and if you close your eyes for 2 minutes, you want to… Right now, if I ask all of you to close your eyes and simply sit, you will see within a minute's time, half the people will be scanning with one eye open, not the third one, I'm talking one of these two. Because it is so intrinsic in you that everything that you have wants to find an outward expression. Because your perception is always by receptivity through the five senses, so it wants to have an outward expression all the time. When this is so, how is this that this person is simply sitting like this for hours or days or months or years? Why and how? One aspect of it is he is engrossed in the process of creation. That is, he is engrossed in the creator, which is far more exuberant than the creation. Which is far, far more exuberant than the creation. So if he closes his eyes, the need to open the eyes did not come. Or another aspect of it is, because, see, when we say engrossed in the creator, if the creator is within, who is the creator? Yourself, isn't it? And once that has become your living experience, you can create a whole existence of your own. In a small cave, I have been into such places. In a small little cave, somebody's got a whole universe going, really. This may not make sense logically, but today science is proving to you that the small and the big are a big mistake. There is no small and big, there is no time and space. Time and space is a complete misunderstanding of creation. This is a scientific fact today. So if there is no time and space, on your fingernail you can create a cosmos. You actually can. Are there people who are living today who have such experiences? Yes, definitely yes, there's no question about it. But why don't they talk about it? Why don't they teach the technology? They are trying to, but the problem with people is Now you want to become a nuclear scientist. You said you're in the army, I'm sorry, you're not a doctor. You're a general or whatever, some officer. So when you went into the army, first day itself you want to become a general. They will throw you out of the army, isn't it? First day, wear those ill-fitting boots and do all the damn things that you're required to do without asking questions. Then slowly, when they see your capability, slowly they promote you and get there, isn't it? Now you want to become a nuclear scientist, but you went to the kindergarten school where they taught you A, B, C, because even Einstein is writing only A, B, C only on the board. Yes? E is equal to mc squared, that's all he's writing, A, B, C. A kindergarten child is also learning ABC, but is it the same ABC? The phenomenal difference, isn't it? Between the ABC that you learned as a kindergarten child and Einstein's ABC is a phenomenal difference. So now the problem with people is just this. Now, people come to me and say, Sadhguru, we want to go spiritual. They come to the ashram. I ask them, okay, how far do you want to go? All the way, Sadhguru. Do you know what all the way means? Whatever Sadhguru, anything I will do. Okay. You stay here for a week, let's see what we can do. No Sadhguru, next Thursday my uncle's son's birthday, I have to go. So what? You want to go all the way and you want to attend uncle's son's birthday? So how many days do you have? 3 days. Okay, 3 days. 3 days what to do? You do this, this and this. But Sadhguru, I don't like this. Okay, you don't like this. You make a list of things that you like. We will do that. You know, today gurus are beggars. Because to find a person who is really committed to do something serious with himself is very hard. Everybody just wants to do that. So, okay, 3 days, you do this, I don't like this, okay, make a list of things that you like, we will do that. Because I can devise yoga around anything that you are doing. You're in the army, I can make an army yoga. You're playing cricket, I can make a cricket yoga. You read a book, I can make a book yoga. You like cinema, I can make a cinema yoga. Because whatever the activity, we can make it into a process of growth for you, that's all. Because what has to change in your life is not the content of your life. What needs to change is the context of your life. By changing the content, nothing will change. So, without learning the ABC, they already want to become the creators. That's the reason it looks far away. It's not far away. Recently somebody came looking for Isha Yoga Center to a nearby village. And they asked a local boy, how far is Isha Yoga Center? The boy said it is 24,996 miles. I said, what? That far away? He said, yes, the way you're going it is. If you turn around, it's just 4 miles. So, from creation to creator looks far away because you're turning in the opposite direction. If you just turn around, it's right here. How far away are you from yourself? Very far away, because you're looking in this direction. If you only looked in this direction, there is no distance, isn't it?
Sadhguruji, I bow down in all humility to you. I'm a great believer in what you preach. So please forgive my question. It may sound like a little blasphemy.
See, there's never anything wrong with a question. An answer can be wrong. A question cannot be wrong, isn't it?
So,
So it's only my problem, you have no problem, you can shoot the question.
I'll keep it very brief. You talk that spirituality is a science, spirituality is an exploration, spirituality is a discipline, right? For us common people, who have to practice this, you said look within yourself. Can you tell us, ordinary human beings, some few tips, what we can practice, how we can better ourselves, how we can promote our well-being using spirituality, because that is what is standing between the inclusion of spirituality in the definition of health.
I think that again brings us back to what I was just speaking some time ago. That is, see, the reason spiritual process has become a ridiculous process on this planet is because people are trying to deliver it in uncommitted atmospheres. Like we were talking about the Do Anke Barahat situation. Suppose you played it everywhere on your windscreen and when you're driving, you wouldn't have known the impact of the movie, isn't it? Because you sat in a dark room, focused, it had a big impact. So if you want to know the impact of it, I would say, if you can invest just, let's say 20 minutes, 25 minutes a day. 25 minutes a day, does it seem like too much? 25 minutes a day you invest, in 6 months' time, every aspect of your life, in some way, if it is not enhanced, you will see, it will definitely be greatly enhanced. Just 25 minutes a day, doing the right thing with a proper understanding. So to get these 25 minutes into your life, I am asking, are you willing to invest 2.5 to 3 days of committed atmosphere? Totally committed atmosphere. Not out of curiosity. Curiosity is not sufficient. Curiosity doesn't have sufficient strength. I'm asking, are you willing to invest 2.5 to 3 days to make it happen for yourself? That's not a great amount of time, but even that people think is impossible for them. 2.5 to 3 days, 3 days' time you invest. After that, every day you invest just 25 minutes in your life. In 6 months' time, there'll be phenomenal changes in your life. I will guarantee this to you. It is as guaranteed as if I turn on the light, if I turn on the switch, the light comes on. It's as guaranteed as that.
Once upon a time or some time ago, I read a poem by Emerson, the great American poet. It was titled Brahma. I was curious, what does he know about Brahma? I read the poem and I understood he had read some of the Upanishads in translation. Sometime later, I came across a parody of this very poem, because Emerson had written about the creator and the creation being one, exactly what you are saying. But the parodist was a fan of cricket, and he wrote in his parody, I am the bat and the ball and the pavilion cat. How do you relate these two versions of Brahma, please?
I thought you were talking about the Indian cricket team. When he asked the question, when I said yoga means union, it just means that. You're the bat and the ball and the catch and everything. To put it into more mundane terms, into what you call as scientific terms, medically scientific terms. In the recent times, much research has gone into the human brain. One particular Israeli scientist has been doing a lot of research into human brain in a particular direction. And what he found was that there are millions of cannabis receptors in human brain. Cannabis means, generally in the local this thing they may be calling it marijuana, whatever. The cannabis receptors in the brain, millions of them in everybody's brain. Why is this so? The only logical explanation that you could give for this is maybe 10,000 years ago the whole world was smoking pot, which is not true. Otherwise, how did the human brain develop millions of cannabis receptors? And with much more research, he's gone into this, about 21 years of very focused research into this. And then he came out and said that it is only because human body is producing its own narcotic and there are cannabis receptors in your brain, feelings of peace, pleasure, joy can happen within you. It's the chemistry of your joy or your blissfulness. I have, instead of spending 21 years of research, if you had just asked me, I would have gotten you stoned without anything from outside. Yes, I can have you completely drunk and drugged without any external input. It's simple yoga. Just if you sit here, I'll have you completely drunk, intoxicated, but fully aware. The reason why we are against alcohol and drugs is because it intoxicates and takes away your awareness and spoils your health and destroys you. Suppose these drugs were such, they intoxicated you, but they also made you very alert and intelligent and had very wonderful impact on your health, all of us would be into it, isn't it so? Yes or no? Always, the yogics… you need to understand this, the science has been expressed in a dialectical form in this country. We say, Shiva is the first yogi. In the yogic culture, we don't see Shiva as a god, we see him as the first yogi and the first teacher of yoga. He is the first yogi, Adi Guru and the Adi Yogi for the yogic systems. And he is a great yogi who sits in great alertness, at the same time he is a drunkard. He is a smoker of pot. He is all the time intoxicated, at the same time fully aware and alert. Every yogi is working towards this, because if you do not know the intoxication of the divine within you, and if you do not know the alertness of the mind, you will completely miss your life. The only way to perceive life at its best is you are intense and absolutely relaxed at the same time. Right now the problem with most people is, if you ask them to be intense, they will become tense. If you ask them to relax, they will become lax. Both in laxity and tension, you will miss life, isn't it? Yes or no? Both in laxity and in tension, you miss life. When you're intense and absolutely relaxed, this is only possible if you're absolutely aware, at the same time you're absolutely drunk. So this is how we describe the first teacher of yoga. He is a drunkard, but a great yogi. And in many ways, every yogi is just that, he is a drunkard and a great yogi. I can get you drunk without alcohol, without any drug, with your own system. So, you're producing your own narco, consuming your own narco, and it has a tremendous impact on your health, well-being, mental alertness, perception, everything. So are you the ball and the bat and the catch also? Because that's how the system is made. That is how the atomic is made, it is self-contained. That is how the subatomic is made. That is how the individual is made. That is how the cosmos is made. Right now, the biggest contradiction and the problem with logical thinking, the height of irrationality of rationale is relativity and quantum theory. One is talking and describing the ways of the atom, another is talking about the ways of the cosmos, and they're diametrically opposite to each other. This is the height of irrationality of the rationale, isn't it so? So your rationale is useful only for survival. If you're seeking anything beyond survival, you have to be the bat, the ball, the catch and the sixer too.
My question is, we are individually creator for ourselves. Is there any universal creator? And if we have to vibe with the universal creator, again yoga is required, or there is no universal creator? Thank you.
The universe is there, obviously it was created. There is creation, so obviously it was created. The question is only whether you created it or me. That's all the struggle is. But it's created, there's no question about that, isn't it? So it is created. So instead of assuming all kinds of things about the nature of the Creator. The only reason why we thought about the Creator is because of the creation. And creation is the only doorway to the Creator. If you distance yourself from the creation, you also distance yourself from the Creator. Every atom in the existence is a doorway to the Creator, if you are willing to open it.
Sadhguru, this morning's discourse, one thing stood out was that there is a lot of anger in the world today, and anger is fueling turmoil in the world. Can spirituality help that, and what is the way even individual can be controlled, his anger can be controlled? Thank you.
So, there is anger in the world. There is no anger in the world. There is anger in people's minds, individual minds. There is no such thing as anger in the world, isn't it? There is anger in you, there is anger in that person, there is anger in this person. Are you right now angry? Thank you. Right now you are not angry. That means there is no anger in this hall right now, isn't it? But you can get angry. You can get angry. Right now there is no anger in this hall, but you can get angry. So this is one thing that we have to see. Anger is not there. What we call as life energy, what is life? You can make this into anger, you can make this into love, you can make this into compassion, you can make it into frustration, you can make it into depression, you can make it whatever you want. The choice is yours. If you had retained the choice, if the choice was really with you, definitely you would have chosen the most pleasant thing, isn't it? Whatever is the most pleasant thing. Generally people are talking about love, joy, blissfulness, because people understand this as the most pleasant things in their life. If you had a choice about what to make yourself of right now in this moment, would you choose pleasantness or unpleasantness? Pleasantness, there's no question about that, isn't it? If I ask you, do you want to live in pleasant atmospheres or unpleasant atmospheres? Pleasantness. Do you want to be pleasant in your mind or unpleasant in your mind? Pleasantness. Do you want to be pleasant in your body, unpleasantness in your body? Pleasantness. All you're seeking is just this, please see. You may believe that you're seeking money, property, God, whatever. All that you're seeking is just this. You want to be pleasant in your body, in your mind, in your emotion and in your energies. This is all you're seeking. No, I am seeking God. No, somebody has told you if you seek God, you will become ecstatic. No, I want to go to heaven. Somebody has told you heaven is a more pleasant place than this one, that's why you want to go there. Or you made a hell out of your life, whichever way. Fundamentally, you are seeking pleasantness, isn't it? Now, this same scientist, because he talked about Emerson using the word Brahma, this scientist tried to look for a word to name the word, to name the chemical which is being received by the cannabis receptors in the brain. He wanted to give a unique name and he studied every scripture on the planet to find an appropriate name. And the most beautiful thing is, no scripture on the planet, except from India, ever talks about bliss and ecstasy. Everybody talks about salvation, everybody talks about your sins being washed away, at the most peace. Nobody talks about blissfulness and ecstasy. So, he called this chemical which is produced in the body as Anandamide. You know Ananda? Anandamide. So cannabis receptors are waiting to receive Anandamide. How much Anandamide you produce in this system, that is how blissful you will be. It can't be taken… If you take it in the form of an injection, you will become an addict. But if you generate your own Anandamide, you will be blissful, always. So if you're blissful, would you be angry? No. Anger… Life has found expression in the form of anger only because this life is not blissful, isn't it? If this was blissful every moment of its existence, Question of anger or controlling anger or putting anger down doesn't even arise within you, isn't it? So, what is needed is, yes, there are situations in the world which may be causing anger, but I'm telling you, if you eliminate one situation, another situation will pop up. See, within your own family or within your own situation, do you see, for every small thing people can get angry? Need not be a major issue, yes? Not a life and death kind of issue. A simple thing in your house can make you angry or somebody else in the family angry, isn't it so? So it is not necessarily by settling all the problems on the planet that we will eliminate anger. First of all, if we teach ways of joyfulness and blissfulness right from childhood, we have not focused on this. As a humanity, we have not focused on making our children joyful. If they're making lot of joyful sounds in the house, usually adults will go and say, "Shut up." We have not encouraged joy and bliss as a part of our life. If people were more joyful, did you have to talk about controlling anger? It wouldn't come, isn't it? We need religions of joy, we need politics of joy, we need economics of joy. We need to bring that aspect into our life on all levels. If that is not brought into our life in every possible way, and methods to keep the system joyful above all, because without that, it'll become a fake joy that you're pretending or you're trying to be joyful. Now, if you are producing enough Anandamide in your system, you would be joyful, isn't it? I can show you 1,000,000 people for whom we have taught how to produce more Anandamide in the system, that without any reason, people are just happy. People think, oh, if they all become happy, they will become useless. It is not so. Please look at your own life and see. On a particular day when you are happy, are you willing to do more? Or on a particular day when you are unhappy, are you willing to do more? When you're happy, you're willing to do anything, isn't it? When you're unhappy, you have to drag yourself through life. When you're happy, you're loving, you're generous, you're flexible, you're sensible, everything. When you're unhappy, you can be real mean and nasty, isn't it? If you meet any human being when he is joyful, he is a wonderful human being. If you meet the same human being when he's unhappy, he can be a very nasty human being. This is so with every human being, isn't it?
You are my perfect mirror, you show me what I'm not. In the endless pit of what once was me, layer and layer you peel off me. The pain it is, but the joy it brings. So thank you for showing me what I'm not, for showing me what I could be.